Hey there, friends. Today, I want to share a story that's been sitting heavy on my heart. It's about adventure, dreams, love, and the kind of tragic mistake that reminds all of us just how unforgiving the sea can be. This isn't a tale about gear or weather windows or clever anchoring tricks. It's about a couple who set out to live a beautiful, purpose-driven life on the water, and who paid the ultimate price. This story is real. It's raw, and it deserves to be told with the respect and weight it carries. So grab a coffee or cold beer, settle in, and let's talk about Brett Clibbery and Sarah Packwood, a couple who believed in something bigger than just crossing oceans. Brett was in his 70s, a seasoned sailor with a heart for the earth and a lifetime of stories under his belt. Sarah was in her 50s, full of life, curiosity, and determination. Together, they had this shared vision. Not just to sail around the world, but to do it in a way that left no trace. No diesel fumes, no reliance on fossil fuels, just wind, sun, and ocean. Their boat, Theros, was more than a yacht. It was a home, a statement. They had converted it for sustainable travel, removed the diesel engine and outfitted her with electric propulsion powered by solar panels, wind systems, and a repurposed electric car battery. They wanted to prove that it could be done, that you could cross oceans without harming the planet. In 2016, they even got married aboard Theros, tying the knot on the deck of the very boat that would carry them into the unknown. For them, this wasn't a retirement hobby or a flashy adventure vlog. This was a lifestyle, a philosophy, a mission. On June 11th, 2024, Brett and Sarah set off from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Their goal? Sail more than 2,000 miles across the Atlantic to the Azores. Just the two of them. No engine backup, no crew, no margin for error. They left under good spirits, with plans to document their journey through their YouTube channel, Theros Adventures. It wasn't a big channel, but their videos were honest and thoughtful, showing glimpses of their quiet life aboard, the way the boat worked, and their deep love for each other in the sea. Everything seemed fine at first. They had a tracker on board. Family and friends followed their progress. Then, around June 13th, just 2 days in, their Jeep's signal stopped. No distress call after June 13th. Their satellite communicator and AIS went silent. After that, nothing. Days passed, then a week. The silence stretched and unease crept in. On June 18th, they were officially reported missing. The Canadian Coast Guard launched a search, but the ocean is vast. And Theros, with no radio call and no engine, was like a needle in a watery haystack. Then came the heartbreaking discovery. On July 10th, nearly a month after they vanished, a 10-foot inflatable life raft washed ashore on Sable Island. For those who don't know, Sable Island is this narrow crescent of shifting sand off Nova Scotia, infamous for shipwrecks and called the graveyard of the Atlantic. Inside the raft were two bodies, Brett and Sarah. The truth is, we still don't know exactly what happened out there on the Atlantic. The sea keeps its secrets well. There was no sign of Theros, no hull, no floating wreckage, no Mayday call, just that lonely 10-foot life raft found nearly a month later on the shifting sands of Sable Island, holding the still bodies of Brett and Sarah. But sailors like us, we can't help but run the possibilities through our minds, over and over, trying to imagine what it must have been like. One possible scenario is that they were struck by a larger ship, though evidence from ship tracking data doesn't strongly support this. A freighter, or a tanker, maybe. Theros was small and silent. While her AIS was active at first, it went dark after June 13th, leaving her effectively invisible in shipping lanes. With no engine noise and no strong radar signature, she would have been nearly invisible in busy shipping lanes, especially at night or in fog. It wouldn't take much. One blind spot, one tired watch, a single moment of bad luck. And if a big vessel ran them down, it could have happened in seconds. If that's how it went, maybe there was a loud impact. A hole below the waterline. Chaos. Water rushing in. The boat possibly sinking fast. Brett and Sarah might have had only moments to grab the essentials and get into the life raft. No time to send a distress call, no time to save their boat. A separate theory under serious consideration is that there was an onboard fire. Canadian investigators noted that one of the flotation suits found in the raft showed signs of melting, suggesting it may have been worn during a blaze. A fire at sea is one of the most terrifying emergencies a crew can face, especially with no engine or immediate power to fight it or call for help. Another possible scenario is catastrophic equipment failure. They had removed their diesel engine entirely and were relying solely on solar and wind power. That's noble, but it also meant total dependence on battery systems. If something failed, if the batteries drained, or the wiring corroded, or the panels got damaged, they would have been left with no electricity at all. No nav lights, no VHF, no satellite comms, not even a way to run a water maker, if they had one. A dead electrical system offshore is like being blind and voiceless. You can't steer, you can't call, you can't see what's coming next. You're just drifting, alone, cut off, waiting for something to go right. Weather is another suspect. June in the North Atlantic can throw some nasty surprises. Even in the best seasons, you're never totally safe from rogue waves, sudden squalls, or low-pressure systems that come roaring out of nowhere. Without an engine, you can't reposition. You can't motor out of danger. You're at the mercy of the wind. A knockdown, a capsize, even a serious broach could have taken out their rig or left them injured. If water came rushing in, it wouldn't take long for things to get dire. Then there's the boat itself. Was there a structural failure? A failed through hull? A rudder issue? It's possible something started leaking slowly, too slowly to notice at first, and once the water got ahead of them, with no engine to run a pump or push to shore, they may have been left with no choice but to abandon ship. Another grim possibility is that one of them suffered a medical emergency, an injury, or an illness mid-crossing. Out there, with no engine and no fast communication, getting help would have been next to impossible. If one partner became incapacitated, the other would have faced impossible choices, trying to sail alone, administer care, manage a drifting boat in blue water seas. But no matter what brought them to the raft, we do know this. They got in. They survived whatever happened aboard Theros, at least long enough to launch their life raft. That takes presence of mind. It takes courage. But the raft was unpowered, adrift on a vast ocean, and for weeks they floated. Imagine that. Weeks of nothing but water, no land in sight, no rescue, under the burning sun by day and the cold winds at night, battling thirst, hunger, fatigue, hope flickering like the ocean horizon, always just out of reach. By the time the raft touched Sable Island, it was too late. The sea had already claimed its due. That's the brutal truth of it. Whether it was a collision, a systems failure, a storm, or some combination of all of it, we'll likely never know. The ocean doesn't offer closure, just silence, and sometimes a raft on a beach. So what was their mistake? Some would say it was removing the diesel engine, that they willingly gave up one of the most reliable safety nets a boat can have. Others argue it was heading offshore without a fully redundant communication system. Some folks online have been quick to criticize their reliance on ecotech, calling it idealistic or even reckless. But to me, the mistake wasn't rooted in one piece of gear or one missing system. The real mistake was something deeper, more human. They believed that good intentions and careful planning would somehow keep them safe from the sea's darker moods. They trusted that their values, their desire to tread lightly, to honor the planet, to do things differently, would somehow translate into protection. But the ocean doesn't care what we believe. It doesn't care about how noble our mission is, how experienced we are, or how deeply we love the life we've built aboard. It's not cruel, it's just indifferent. And when you forget that, even for a moment, the consequences can be final. By removing their engine, Brett and Sarah gave up more than just propulsion. They gave up control in tight spots. They gave up the ability to charge systems when solar wasn't enough, during days of overcast, or when panels were fouled with salt spray. They gave up the chance to quickly motor out of a shipping lane if they spotted a tanker bearing down. And perhaps most critically, they gave up the option to steer out of harm's way if weather turned against them. And sure, people have crossed oceans for centuries without engines. Heck, plenty of purists still do, but they usually carry redundancies in other forms. Storm sails, drogues, backup radios, high-gain antennas, and more. Theros may have had some of those, but she clearly didn't have enough to break the silence when everything went wrong. Their fatal mistake wasn't choosing sustainability, it was choosing fragility. In modern offshore sailing, there's a line between bold and brittle. It's one thing to take risks with your own comfort. It's another to sail beyond the safety net, with no reliable way back. In a world full of EPIRBs, Iridium sat phones, emergency VHF repeaters, and affordable AIS receivers, choosing to go without any of it is like climbing a mountain without rope. It may feel pure, it may feel right, but when things go bad, there's no second chance. They weren't foolish, they weren't thrill seekers, they were thoughtful people trying to do something meaningful, but they seemed to place their trust in their mission, believing that by sailing in harmony with nature, they could avoid the worst nature had to offer. Sadly, that's not how it works. I've seen it myself. Calm seas turn violent in an hour. Batteries that worked fine yesterday fail with no warning. Systems blink out. Auto helms go rogue. I've seen hulls split on reefs that didn't show up on charts. And I've talked to sailors who survived, barely, because they had that one last system, the backup radio, the ditch bag, the jerry can of fuel, that saved their lives. We don't carry these things because we expect failure. We carry them because failure doesn't care whether we expect it. So maybe the real fatal mistake wasn't technical at all. It was philosophical. It was thinking that the ocean would honor their vision the way they honored it, that the sea would reward their restraint, that doing everything right would be enough. But sometimes, even everything right isn't. That's the lesson. A hard one, a painful one, but one we have to learn from. As sailors, as adventurers, as human beings. Brett and Sarah weren't reckless thrill seekers. They weren't newbies either. They were thoughtful, smart people, trying to do something right in a world that often takes the easy way out. And I think we need to remember that before we armchair quarterback their final days. Their journey wasn't a failure. It was cut short. They left behind a message, even if it wasn't the one they planned. Their YouTube channel is still up, full of calm, measured content about life at sea, their setup, and their vision. You can still hear their voices, still see their smiles, still witness two people doing what they loved together. So yeah, this one hit hard. It reminded me why we always do the safety checks, why redundancy matters, why it's okay to believe in a better world, but not at the cost of survival. And most of all, it reminded me that every single passage is a serious one. No matter how experienced you are or how green your sailing dreams may be. To Brett and Sarah, thank you for sharing your journey. Your story won't be forgotten. Stay safe out there, friends. Hug your loved ones. Double-check your gear. And never forget that the sea gives nothing. It only lends us moments, if we're lucky. Until next time, fair winds.